Hi and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be talking about the US government shutdown for October 2025. I will give you some foreshadowing information. This does appear to be a Russian nesting doll situation, and you'll understand more as we get into it. The US government has already shut down as 12:01 a.m. on the 1st of October. Part of this review will be including pieces from the US Senate floor. We'll start off with Schumer from the Democrat side laying out his reason for the shutdown. Thank you.
So, Mr. President, today's October 1st, the first full day of Donald Trump's government shutdown. Donald Trump and Republicans have barreled us into a shutdown because they refuse to protect Americans' health care.
So next, Schumer's talking about refuses to protect America's health care. Let's go over that a little bit more. So what he's basically looking for is the Democrats want $1 trillion towards the ACA funding. The reason why they're looking for this is because Trump's big beautiful bill basically reduced about $1 trillion in spending for the ACA. And what is the ACA, you might ask? So the ACA is the Affordable Care Act. It's also known as Obamacare. It's basically a health reform law that was passed back in 2010 to expand access to health insurance for improved consumer protection aimed at reducing health costs all across America and the US. Sounds good, right? I thought it was. And when I first heard this, I was like, why would anyone want to reduce this, right? I mean, it makes no sense. As I dug into it further, you'll hear more. The Republicans are trying to explain it. And what they say is that basically they're not saying it well. I mean, I don't know why. I've listened to 3 or 4 different videos by the Republicans, and I don't think any of them really explained it well. All they kept saying was basically it was to reduce funding for illegal immigrants. We'll get more into that in a little bit.
They make up lies, absolute lies. They say, oh, what they're fighting to do is prevent, they could say, illegal immigrants from getting federal health care dollars. That is a damn lie. Not $1 of Medicare, Medicaid, or ACA is allowed to go to undocumented immigrants, not a dollar. So why do they keep saying this? This seems to be their theme, because they're afraid to talk about the real issue. It's typical Republican response. Have a diversion, try to scare people emotionally.
So this next piece has a lot to unpack, and I'm going to try to keep it short. So Schumer says the Republicans are looking to prevent illegal immigrants from getting federal health care dollars. So he even goes too far as says the Republicans are making up lies. Schumer's really good at walking the edge. And if you watch him speak throughout this, you'll notice he's very specific in his wording. So he keeps saying that the Republicans will say that this money is going towards the ACA funding is going towards illegal immigrants. And Schumer says that is absolutely not true. And Schumer's correct. The ACA funding, if you look it up, will not go 1 penny towards illegal immigrants, not directly. But if you look at states like Oregon and you look into their private programs, like the Oregon uses, I think it's called the OHP and Cover All Kids program, these additional programs do actually take ACA funding for a large majority of their additional funding towards undocumented immigrants and illegals. So, in effect, what Schumer's saying is 100% accurate. It's short-sighted, of course. He's only stating one part of it, but it's not a lie. The ACA funding will not go towards illegal immigrants, not 1 penny. But the money that is going from ACA to the states for that funding will be washed into other programs, which then will go towards illegal immigrants. And again, this is something I feel that the Republicans did a very poor job on explaining. They kind of just left it simply as this funding will be going towards illegal immigrants. They didn't explain how, they didn't explain why. And then when the Democrats kept rebutting back saying, no, the ACA funding won't be, they didn't explain how it would be. So this is something I had to do a little bit more research on the side to understand how this funding would come to be and how this would be affecting those undocumented immigrants, right? And the key point to all of this is the ACA is essential to keeping programs like the OHP and the Cover All Kids program for Oregon, for instance. And again, I only picked Oregon because I didn't do all 50 states. I didn't want this to be a 50-hour video. But focusing just on Oregon, these two programs are heavily affected if ACA was to become unavailable for them. So any reduction in their funding would make Oregon have to choose, do we fund local U.S. citizens, or do we have to fund illegal immigrants, or do we try to spread it across the board? And if they did that, obviously there would be gaps, and then that would look really bad for them and versus their constituents. So getting this ACA funding is essential for them to continue to support undocumented immigrants. I do want to add a couple other pieces. One thing I do love, and this is about politicians in general, but Schumer, he's a real class guy on this part. He goes, I do love how he talks about lying. So when he's fast talking, he's clearly misleading by not lying directly. like with the whole ACA funding thing, because he's talking, if you look into his words, he's very specific on how he's using them. He's trying to use them in a way where he knows he can't be held accountable later, but he knows he's also not telling you the full truth. And I swear to God, if he's not a lawyer, I would be shocked because he did this very well, very masterful. He brought you all the way to the edge of the truth and then didn't fill out the end, but then, held his ground. And then him calling out the other side for being liars, misdirecting and diversion and scaring people, I thought was a class act. I mean, this is something I don't expect to see in like a law school where you're trying to convert the people who are watching you to believe your side with what information you provided them, not waiting for rebuttal. And again, when you watch the entire video, especially from the Republicans later on, he's reading from a script. He didn't even respond to Schumer's communication or story or his explanations. He literally had his own little spiel he was saying, and I think that was a huge miss from the Republicans because I get there's a level of comfort that a lot of Republicans or Democrats may have just following a script, but Schumer did a great job at throwing a ball over at the Democrats, I'm sorry, at the Republicans and calling them out, and the Republicans didn't even pick up the ball. From the video I watched with the Republican representative, he didn't even explain the situation better. He didn't talk about how Schumer was kind of half truth telling what's going on. He didn't even explain, like, go back to him about saying, hey, you guys are lying and using diversions as well. I thought that was very interesting. I thought that was unfortunate. For a good party of discussion, both sides need to become prepared and be able to rebut. And I think Schumer definitely got the point on that one.
When they say that undocumented immigrants are going to get this money, it's a lie, plain and simple. It's a lie so lazy and so outlandish it's easy to rebut. But again, let me be clear. Undocumented people cannot and will not receive premium tax credit by law. The federal government does not fund federal health insurance for undocumented immigrants in Medicaid or Medicare, period, full stop.
So I recorded this piece again just because of the fact that he says it again, and I thought it was good to illustrate how very careful he is with his wording, and then honestly how eloquent he was. I give him props. I mean, I think he said this perfectly, and I did look it up actually later that he was a lawyer. At least it looks like him practicing law. So he understands how to use the words and manipulate the meanings, and also how to emphasize his point. He's trying to say as little as possible while not being held accountable, while basically trying to overemphasize that the Republican Party is at fault. I mean, again, the wording is masterful. I give him nothing but props. It's just funny because he's walking a line and he knows it. He's not saying the full story. He's only saying the same piece. Just basically repeating the whole part about the ACA and that no federal funding will actually be offered to illegal immigrants. And then, and also saying the same things before is the federal government doesn't offer fund for federal health insurance for illegal immigrants through Medicaid or Medicare. And he uses those specific words again because the obvious fact that it can't be. Otherwise, there would be trouble. But if it was to go through another program, state program like the OHP or the Cover All Kids program, that's a different story because it's not just ACA funding, it's actually being washed. And I guess with the way that it's written, that is acceptable because it's been happening for a long time.
If Republicans work with us and fix America's healthcare crisis, the shutdown could go away very quickly. And that's what Democrats want, to end this now, fix healthcare now. It's the right thing to do for the American people. We urge our Republican colleagues, we urge President Trump to take yes for an answer. Yield the floor.
So to kind of summarize here, so what Chuck's basically done at the very end was very well done. He threw it back at the Republicans and said that basically, hey, we're here to work with you. You guys are the ones that created this problem. You're wrong in stating the ACA funding goes directly towards illegal immigrants, which it does, just not directly. Again, Chuck's very smart in his words. And then basically, you guys are the ones that cause the problem. We're here to help you out, right? And we're willing to work with you to help Americans. Again, he uses words very well before, which I thought was hilarious, calling out the Republicans for diversion and scaring people. And then Chuck himself is using these exact same tactics on fear of cost of living or cost of increases for Medicare, Medicaid, worrying about what the prices are, how it could affect their family. He's not even really talking directly, and he's intentionally not talking how the funding would go to undocumented immigrants. Either he's taking a blind eye, like most attorneys would when they're defending their client to the situations, or he just simply is not talking about it because he has no leg to stand on. So why talk about it? And again, I think this is where the Republican leader, John Thune, really failed. He's not all politicians are good communicators. I think most people, whether you like him or not, would say Trump is a very, very strong communicator, good, bad, or ugly, but he communicates very well. But that's his style. That's the way he is. I think John Thune, as the leader of the Republican Party, is unfortunately a definite mismatch against Schumer. I think Chuck Schumer, with his legal background and the way he wrote this, was very well done. I mean, if you were ever in a bad situation where you are at fault and you're trying to seek levity from the public and then trying to convey yourself as the innocent party while making the other party look bad, I would have given him an A plus. I thought he did a phenomenal job on this, but again, it's not true. I mean, they basically are at fault for the whole ACA misdirecting of funding, putting it towards illegal immigrants. I call it the Russian nesting doll situation. He manipulated his words very well, or used his words very well, to make sure that they were accurate to the situation, if not a lie. And like I said, this is to me was the biggest matchup. Was John Thune really didn't do a good job in one explaining where Schumer was in error. He didn't do it at all, not from his speech that I saw, and two, defining really how are the Democrats getting the illegal funding. I mean, again, I had to do my own research on this. There's no real clear videos of any of the Republicans talking about this, because if you are any normal citizen and you do a Google search for ACA funding, does it cover illegal immigrants? The answer will be no. It's straight up, the answer is no. But you have to look into the states, and then they're what do you want to call it? They're private programs that then obviously do offer aid to illegal immigrants and illegal children. And the answer is yes, which is unfortunately funded by the ACA program. So short answer is what Trump's trying to do is reduce this funding to force these states to comply and basically provide funding to the U.S. citizens or legal citizens. That is what the funds were intended to. And my guess also, honestly, is he's doing this for the same purpose, is to root out illegal immigrants, right? Because if he can remove the illegal immigrant funding for medicals and healthcare and all that stuff, and maybe even schools, then that would also dismay, or what's the right word, put them off into coming to this country, right? Because he's removing any support mechanisms that the Democrats have built for them to make them feel comfortable in a country that they're not citizens. So again, it's very interesting. It's like a nice game of chess. If Trump's doing that, and that's the intent I would do if I was him, for what his direction I believe is, I think it makes a lot of sense. He was elected to target illegal immigrants and to help U.S. citizens find jobs and other things which illegal immigrants are taking and bring more jobs back to this country. This is another way of doing it, and the Democrats are worried about losing that voting base, which is why they're pleading to America about how this ACA funding will affect them and how they need their support. And it's 100% true. It will, if the states decide to continue to fund illegal immigrants. If they don't continue to fund illegal immigrants, there may be a little bit of a hit. There may be no hit. We really don't know because of how much funding is actually going to these programs. So, at the very least, Trump's approach to cut $1 trillion may seem excessive, and it probably is if you consider the undocumented immigrants. If you don't, it may not be, it may be. We honestly, this is kind of one of those things where things have been away for so long, there's no surgical precision that this is going to be a perfect solution. I think this is Trump trying to take a machete to the situation, hoping with best numbers to get a good indifference and then maybe adjust. But he's basically probably trying to make sure that these programs that do support undocumented immigrants or illegal immigrants will basically close down, and the money will go where it was originally intended, which was to U.S. citizens, American citizens, which is the whole purpose of what the ACA was created for. So that's all I have for you today. I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.